This is my year of Abby Jimenez, right? Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sammy, Sam-Marie, Samantha Read-A-Lot, if you will. And today we're doing an April and May reading wrap up. That's what we're here for. That's what we all showed up for. You saw it in the title. You saw it in the description. Need I say more? These are 12 books. This is enough for me to do a wrap up. I think I'm going to do every 2 months because that 14 number is getting really high and it's getting really far away from when I first read the book. So I feel I can't be as passionate. I can't be as excited about the book anymore because I read it so long ago. Even if it was like a good solid book, like a 3 stars, I have simply forgotten. I don't even know the details anymore. And how am I supposed to help me help each other find good books and find the next books when it's been months since I read them? So I think I'm going to do 2-month reading wrap-ups. If you're new here, I'm a 28-year-old psych PA. I own a small business. I make smoothie bowls for a living for a baby mother of 3. I am married. Did break a nail. Do need to redo these. I am on an adventure of making and doing my own nails. I am a book reader, an avid reader, book enthusiast, book collector, hobby. Like, I just like to do hobbies, and I'm a girl. Okay, let's get on with the reading wrap up. Okay, we're going back to April. First and foremost, I did read this in a spring into reading video. You can watch that here. This is Picking Daisies on Sundays by Liana Cincotti. I picked this up because I was doing a springy type of reading vlog. We were having a good and fun spring time. What better book? I mean, this could be the best cover on my entire bookshelf. Now, is it the best book? In this book, we're following Daniela, who goes by Daisy, and what is his name? I feel like it's Gus or something. Levi. We're following Daisy and Levi. These are high school besties. Perhaps were each other's first love or one of their first loves. Didn't work out though. There was this big miscommunication, misunderstanding, this big blow up that happens at the end of high school, and they don't talk for years. They bump into each other at a bar. They end up in a fake dating situation. Levi's job apparently cannot trust that he's going to stay long term and stay in the area, and therefore don't want to give him the job if he doesn't have anything tying him down to the area like a girl. And she just happens to be the girl that happens to be the one. A little bit weird, a little bit of boundaries crossed there from a professional standpoint, but I guess it was necessary for the plot. Of course, they've rekindled, they're seeing each other again. There are some moments that I really enjoyed Levi, right? He is very protective, he's a nurturer, he is a brother of older siblings, he's gone through grief. Because of that, he really likes to take care of people, and I really enjoyed that about him. There's just some scenes with that, like picking her up from classes and intervening when she needs somebody to intervene. I enjoyed them together, if I'm being honest. I think they go good together. I liked them together, but the whole miscommunication of it all didn't work for me. It was silly. There was alcohol involved. It really could have been avoided altogether. It was kind of unnecessary. They lost years together because of this silly misunderstanding. And I mean, this guy's a romancer. He is an author. He's a poet, and he knows it. Okay, anyways, I'm not gonna do that ever again. With that, there are some really good like romance moments, and there's some really good moments that you could crop a quote and put it on TikTok and convince people to read this, but I just don't know that you need to have read it. This is probably like landing at a 2 to 2.5 stars for me, mostly because like the whole point of this book was the miscommunication, and it was truly just so goofy and immature. The characters felt very immature, and I get it, this is younger adults. They are nearing the end of college age, so like 21, 22, they're trying to get into like master's programs, and they're very immature. The female main character in particular, and some of her insecurities, I do see that could maybe be nice for somebody who experiences similar things, but she's constantly being told she's beautiful, and she just won't believe it, won't take it, and makes other people uncomfortable for having had complimented her. It just didn't work for me, and I hate to be that person that doesn't like the female main character, but it is a portion of the reason that I didn't enjoy it. I think if you're younger, I think if I picked this book up when I was in high school, I think if I read this in high school, I would have liked this. So if you're looking for a cute and fun romance and you're in high school, I think you could enjoy this. I just think I'm too old for it. Then I read Alice Feeney, My Husband's Wife, first thriller of April. Our female main character, she leaves the house to go on a run. They are in a new town. She doesn't know too many people. They've just bought this home. She goes out on a run, but she leaves her keys. She leaves her phone. She leaves her belongings. She's just going for a run. I guess she just raw dogs her run. I mean, I would never leave my phone and headphones. I can't be alone with the thoughts for that long, but more power to her. She leaves, goes on this run. She shows back up to the home. There's another woman in the house who answers the door. And that woman says, "Hey, this is my home. Please get off my porch. You're scaring me." And so they call the police. So there's somebody in her house claiming to be her, but she's saying, "No, I am her. Who is her?" And yeah, you go down this twisty, turny. There's a lot of twists, a lot of turns. It's multiple POVs. And it was fun. It was entertaining. Probably a solid 3 stars. Wasn't life changing. I think some of the twists and the turns in the plot line got like a little goofy and outlandish for me personally, but I think it was fun. I think I'm learning that maybe for thrillers, I like a singular POV. Even if that is a perspective that's an unreliable narrator, and then you kind of find out later on like, whoa, what was going on here? I think the multiple POVs takes out the surprise of it for me, and I think that is what doesn't work for me. So I think this was a good entertaining time. Audiobook is good. Alice Feeney's audiobooks I do enjoy because they kind of like set the scene. There will be like, you can hear her jogging on the path and stuff. It's a bit immersive. I like read half of it and listened to half of it. I think maybe I'd recommend the audiobook more so, just if you're looking for an easy breezy entertaining audiobook. I will say I think my husband enjoyed this a bit more than I did. Next up, we read 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. This is a romance. It says 7 days to fall in love, 15 years to forget, and 7 days to get it all back again. They become friends in school, and this romance kind of blossoms in high school. But this could be a book that you might want to read. Trigger warnings if you do need them. There is self-harm. There is a lot of drug involvement. There is alcoholism. They do kindle up this friendship, which then just leads to not even a dating. It just kind of ends up in this soul bond between these two. They spend these days together, these 7 days, and they're staying at this home, and it was bad and toxic, but also like magical a little bit. They were magic, their circumstances were not magic. Something happens that you'll find out about later, why it got to the point that it got to. They don't see each other for 15 years, and then finally they see each other again at this author event. I think it's specifically to celebrate Black authors, but it doesn't say. But it's this event, and there's a panel of authors, and then he walks in. The female main character's name is Eva, and then the main male character's name is Shane. Shane shows up, and he's kind of this elusive author. He doesn't do interviews. He doesn't do the social media thing, and he shows in, but it's really just to talk to Eva. But because he's seen and people are excited about seeing him, they ask him to come on to the panel. So they get reacquainted, and there's this moment where they're like, she writes these paranormal romances, and he writes more like, I don't know, like literary fiction types of books, highly acclaimed type of books, but she has a massive fan base for her paranormal romances. You can see where he wrote about her and she wrote about him and all this time they've spent apart. And so they're at this event, and he's like, hey, by the way, like, stop writing about me in all of your books. These two are so good. I loved this romance. This is like a 4.5 out of 5 stars for me. The only reason it's not a perfect 5 stars is there was weird kind of like, they'd be like #mom life or something like that. There's kind of goofy references in there that just totally took me out of the story for a minute. Oh, here's another good one I just flipped to. It says, what if we drown? And he's thinking he already had. It's so good. These two are so good together. It's so romantic. There's a little bit of spice, nothing crazy, but there is some spice in there, some spicy chapters. But I mean, like, this is romance. Like, if we're talking about being romantic and romance, and like this is romance. And I mean, of course, 2 authors would do romance, right? Do you know what I mean? I think this was fantastic. And these were like back-to-back bangers for me. I read The Ministry of Time by Kaliane Bradley. This is what is this considered? This is a sci-fi romance situation. We are following, you actually never get the female main character's name, because I believe this is like, I think this has something to do with like some sort of like fan fiction. I don't know. I don't know too much about the lore behind this book, but we're in this female main character's perspective. She is a civil servant who is going to be paired up with one of these expats, which is somebody from a different era of time. She's going to have to live with this person. They're like set up in a home, they have food, whatever, and kind of help them adjust to the current times because they're having this time travel experimentation going on. And she gets paired up with Commander Gore. I forget Graham is his first name. It was just really like fun, interesting. Again, another 4.5 out of 5 stars. It just like didn't quite hit that 5-star feeling for me. The romance between two people of different time periods was so fun, I think, to follow. And honestly, for the first half of the book, I was like, are we sure this is a romance? There's this moment where he's talking about he wanted to essentially court her, but he doesn't understand what a woman of this time period would want and or need, because they can do anything. They can vote, they can have a job, and he's telling her, he's like, you're so passionate about your job and all of these things, and like, I just don't know what I can give you. I have no idea what I can give you. And they're flirting, their banter is just like so kind of funny and quirky, and I really enjoyed that. I don't know, it was just it was funny. Like it was funny, it was quirky, it was romantic, it was entertaining. I flew through it. I think I read it in 2 days, and like 2 days that I was also like going to work and doing things, not like 2 vacation days. It's plot twisty too. It kept me guessing. It definitely, the ending of it threw me off big time. The last like 80% of it, you're just like kind of on your toes, like what is going to happen. I highly recommend this for sure. The last 2 that I've just talked about are high recommendations in my leaderboard of what I'm going to recommend to people. I don't even know who to recommend this to, because I do think this can kind of hit a wide scope of people. It can reach a wide audience, honestly. This next one, I think I actually like wrote stuff down about it, but Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. This is what I wrote next. This is my year of Abby Jimenez, right? I'm discovering I really enjoy her writing and I really enjoy her stories. I didn't love Part of Your World, and I read that last year or the year before, and it kind of put me off from reading the rest, but now I'm on this train. This book, of course, it's romance. It's Abby Jimenez. Who are our main characters? It's Samantha and Xavier. So these two, they meet at the vet. He's a veterinarian. He's grumpy. She's sunshine. They go back and forth, and she's like, I'm not going with your recommendation. I'm going to handle this, and I'll see you when I've handled it. And so basically he will see her when she handles it. They see each other again. Their banter is more like giving like we're beefing type of banter off rip, but then at the end of it, it's very sudden. And some people didn't like this part about it, but it was very sudden. He's like, will you go out with me? I was like, okay, that's hot. So they go on this perfect date, and you can see in his perspective, he's trying to do things so this date never ends, and then it ends kind of crazy. They get in this situation, but essentially she is moving. She has a job. She's a social media manager, marketing. It's like this pickle company, or it's a mustard company, I think. She does that, but she can do that from anywhere, and her mom has early onset Alzheimer's disease, and so her dad and her sister, they really need some help. So her and her brother end up moving back to kind of help out around the house, and you kind of go through that experience. And I think this was a really good, real representation of like the shitty life circumstances that can happen sometimes to people, and how difficult and how challenging, and how you're going through this early grief, and how, I mean, the nuances of being a caregiver for somebody you love. Being a caregiver, as somebody who works in healthcare, who has been a caregiver for a loved one as well, it's much harder to take care of a loved one than it is, especially in circumstances like these, and when they start to kind of lose themselves and lose their mind, lose their sense of self, lose the sense of understanding who the people are around them. You watch this person, this was one of the smartest people you ever knew in your whole life, and now they're just this whole different person, and it's so complicated being a caregiver, and then like the guilt associated with some of that. I think this was like a really raw, good, I mean, they hit all the markers too with the dad. I think this was so well done, and I think that's so important in these romance novels, is Abby Jimenez does such a good job of giving you such a beautiful, fluffy romance in such unbeautiful, unfluffy circumstances. Like, they're very real world, very real life. Xavier, he's also going through a lot of stuff. He's got trauma from his past, and that kind of makes him why he is the way he is today. What's interesting about this book is it's the most real reason I've ever read for people not being together. It's a real world example about two people loving each other who they really couldn't be together. It was not obvious who should be giving up where they're at in life to come back together and be together. And so it was fantastic. Solid 4-star read. I definitely really enjoyed it, and I would highly recommend it. It's probably closer like a 4.25. What am I talking about? The way I just spoke about that, that's like a 4.25 star. And then I went to the beach and I reread Happy Place by Emily Henry. I was looking for like something easy to read, and I thought, what a better time than to reread one of my favorite books ever, and that's Happy Place, because I wanted to annotate it. Because guys, look at that. This was something serious. This was something very serious to me. I read this back in 2023 or 2022. One of those years I read this book for the first time. It was my first Emily Henry, and I will say there's something about reading your first Emily Henry that's always going to hit hard. Like, it's always, if she's one of your favorite authors, there's something magical about the first time you ever picked up one of her books. I think that's why Beach Read is such a standout for so many people too, is just like the magic of your first Abby or your first Emily Henry book. In this book, we're following Harriet and Wynne. This is a beachy second chance romance. These two share the same friend group. They kind of shared the same living circumstances. However, they were never there at the same time due to like study abroads and things. However, they start to get to know each other because this whole friend group goes to Sabrina's beach house up in, it's like an East Coast cottage. They go there up to Maine every summer. Sabrina's part of the friend group, and that's how they get to know each other. They share this room with like these small twin beds, and they have these late night conversations, and it's just so sweet. That is the past chapters. This is a then and now. That's the past chapters, and that is the quote unquote happy place. And then the current timeline, they are no longer together, but we don't really know what happened. They were engaged, but for some reason they're not anymore. They get back to the house. Turns out it's going to be their last summer there, and Sabrina's really upset. The whole friend group's upset. The whole friend group is going through different things, and they're not communicating well with each other what's going on. So all of this is happening. They get there. They decide they're going to fake date or fake be engaged for the duration of the trip because they don't want to put a bigger damper on the already damper there is that summer. And so you get moments of tension, and you see them building back up, and like, what's it like to kind of like be publicly touching each other, but suddenly like we're in private and we're still doing certain things. And it was so good. I love this book so much. One reason I really heavily just was obsessed with that book off rip was because at the time that I first read it, I felt like I really related to Harriet like super, super deeply. But I think it was very interesting to read it some years later when I've gone through quite a few more things, and I've just grown up in general, and I passed the age of my frontal lobe developing, and just all these sorts of things. You know, I'm a different person now than I was 3 or 4 years ago, and I've been through different things since then. And so it's interesting to read. It's like a little ode to a previous self of mine, like, hey, this is maybe the way you were feeling at one point, but you don't feel this way so much anymore. And that's pretty cool, and that's growth. I think we still relate, and I can see my old self a lot in her, but I think I've grown since then. And she's also going through kind of career changes, and I've already made, you know, when I read it the first time, I was kind of before that career change, and now I'm in the after of it. The next book I read was I Who Have Never Known Men. I was on a trip while I was reading, and I read the last 2 books, and I was like, how fun would it be for this vlog? Because I filmed a vlog. You can watch it here if you want to watch it. How cool would it be if I could finish one more book front to back? And this is teeny tiny. It's like 170, 180 pages. This is 40 women are stuck down in a cage in a basement in a bunker. We are in the perspective of one of the women. She's the youngest of any of them. She's so young that she doesn't remember anything from before being here, and we're following her experience and her perspective through this totally different lens than the other 39 women there. They're all down there. They don't know why. They just know that they have to do certain things in the day. They basically do nothing. There's a lot of rules. They're not allowed to touch each other. There's not a lot of connection. There's certain things they're not allowed to talk about. They also cannot have any contact with the guards. And so we're following the perspective of this character who has never known men. She sees the men who are guards, but she doesn't speak to them. But yeah, they're in this experience, and then one day they're out. So we follow them down this journey of what that looks like on the outside world and how they all play different roles, especially the main character, the one we're in the perspective of, following what her perspectives are, what her takes, what her emotional intellect and what her empathy level is like, and how she views things, how she handles things, because she's never known a world before and she's never had morals set for her. And so we kind of see what the rest of her life looks like from then on out, and it's quite an adventure. It's very entertaining, it's very thought-provoking. It definitely leaves you thinking. I think if you're somebody who needs the book to be perfectly wrapped up with a pretty bow, all questions are answered, I don't know if it's going to be the book for you, but I mean, I think give it a shot. It's only 170 pages. Definitely 4-star read, solid. I think the only thing is it's just hard to connect to the main character. It was very short, it's very sweet, and I think most of the time for a book to be a full-fledged 5-star read, I do need to connect in some sort of way. But I don't think you were really like supposed to deeply connect with this character. It was just supposed to kind of give you a different perspective on life and the way of the world. But good and fun time. Definitely would highly recommend it. I read it on a plane. I finished it on the plane. The next book I read, I don't have that. I read it on Kindle, and that was Still Beating by Jennifer Hartmann. I picked that book up because one of my mutuals on TikTok, it's like one of her favorite books ever, and I've never read anything by this author, and I was on the plane and I needed a Kindle read. I didn't have any more physical books left. I finished that book. I still had like 4 hours to go. I needed something to do. I kind of wanted like a brain off, and I wanted a romance. So Still Beating, we're following Dean and Cora, and they are giving enemies. Dean is her sister's fiance. When we first start the book, they're at this engagement party situation. We see different flashbacks of like why Dean and Cora are at odds with each other and the different pranks that they play and how they don't get along. We see that, but they're at this engagement party thing. She stays, she drinks a little bit too much. Dean comes to pick her up. They get taken by this serial killer called the Matchmaker. They are locked up in this basement together. They go through really traumatic, dehumanizing, awful experiences down there together, and we kind of see how they come out of that, recover from that, how it is a romance too. So we see how and why and what ways they come together after that, and the ripple effects that has on all of the surrounding people. I did enjoy this, and I enjoyed the two together, Dean and Cora. I do like that it didn't necessarily become a trauma bond. They did heal on their own time. You could also see like teasers from the beginning of like, why weren't they just together from the beginning? I think something that I could have done without was like the whole fiance plotline. Because of that, it took away from some of the healing Dean and Cora could have done together. I just think it was so unnecessary that it even if it could have just been somebody else, like why did it have to be her sister? Because that's somebody who should have been like with them through and through, should have been like fully understanding, but she didn't, because they didn't delve into everything that went down in the basement, everything that happened. She didn't understand the extent of everything they went through, but also like the parents and the sister wanted them to be healed and better in like 3 weeks. They're like having Christmas parties and New Year's Eve parties, and they're like, oh, you guys are still sad. Yeah, they're like still a little bit sad. The surrounding factors really brought it down for me. I think it could have been closer to a 4-star without all of that, but I did really enjoy it. The romance in the two characters, definitely good. Enjoyed it. It is a traumatic book, so read the trigger warnings and see if it's a book that you think is for you. If it's not, don't read it. You have been warned. But I definitely will read another Jennifer Hartmann book. I just don't know which one I should pick up next. So if you have any recommendations, definitely let me know. Then I read, I've been on Alice Feeney now. I've been on Frida McFadden now. Some of the top female thriller book authors, and I haven't, I know Frida McFadden, I'm going to read Never Lie because that's the only other one that I've heard raving insane reviews about. I'm going to read that one, but after that, if that does not work for me, I'm probably never picking up another Frida McFadden book. Alice Feeney, I'm kind of in the same situation because I did read another one of her books. I might pick up one more and see if it works for me, but if it doesn't, it just doesn't. I have to give it up. So Lisa Jewell's another very popular one, so I read Don't Let Him In. Nina Swan and her daughter Ash Swan are some of the main characters. Nina and Ash, they have just lost Nina's husband, Ash's father. There's also a brother, but he doesn't play much of a role. Ash lives with her parents, and there's kind of this whole other situation that happened with her that has kind of brought her back home and brought her back to the life she's currently living that you'll find out in the book. So there's those two. They end up getting reached out to by Nick, saying he was a friend of Patty's, who was the said person who has passed away. He wants to meet them, have lunch, blah, 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 blah. whatever, to talk about him, to like rekindle some of the memories, whatever. Nina and him end up starting this romance. But from there, it is just a spiral, and hence don't let him in, because don't let this man in. He's not a good man. He's a cheater. He's a liar. He has perhaps more things that are even worse, you know, committing felonies. I definitely enjoyed it. It was fun, but again, probably just another, maybe like a 3.25, a 3.5 star. It kept me on my toes. I did guess some things that were going to happen, so it wasn't the craziest, most shocking, but nothing felt too out of pocket. So it was fun. Audiobook was good. I listened to some of it. I read some of it. I don't really know what all I should say about it without spoiling. Ash essentially does think he's very suspicious, and that's kind of how we start unraveling and finding out everything that this bad man does. So it's definitely entertaining. It was just kind of like, okay, on to the next book, you know what I mean? I was feeling a bit slumpy, and so I went on TikTok and I said, gals, I'm feeling really slumpy. What should I read? And I didn't pick this up because I was a little bit scared to end this series, because number one, I think there's mixed reviews on the last book in this series, but me personally, I also just didn't want the series to be over. Forgive me. I didn't want it to be over. And so but one of the girlies commented it, so I read it, and it's Rewind It Back by Liz Tomforde. This is the last book in the Windy City series, which is a sports romance series with a really good, strong found family interconnected between all of the books. This one, we're finally following Rio, who is a hockey player. He's on the same team that Xander's is on in the first book. He's kind of like the class clown, the player. He's funny. He's one of the girls. He's always having people laugh, thinking of other people, trying to make other people happy. He's Indy from the second book. He's her best friend. You see everybody from the book on Sunday family dinners. It feels very connected in this book, and I think it was perfectly wrapped up. But we're following him and Hallie. They are childhood friends to lovers to strangers. They had a big falling out, really shitty situation that they were probably just too young to handle at the time, and also some of the adults in it handled it very poorly, which is also probably a reason like why this might not be quite a 5-star for me, is because of some of the adults in this book. But what would you think if I said that I don't know that these are my favorite characters from the whole Windy City series, but it might be my favorite book. I think the writing has just gotten better every book. I think the interconnectedness of it all has gotten better. I think this romance was so good. They end up rekindling because Rio's neighbor just got her house redone by Hallie. So he's like, your house looks fantastic. I want the same person. Book me with them. So he gets booked with them. Turns out it's Hallie. She's an interior designer now. She is like the intern at the firm. And this is really big deal for her to do this. So they see each other. It kind of goes from there. Such a sweet romance. I love A Second Chance because there's just so much history there, and you could see why they love each other so much just because of everything they've probably been through together. There's a lot of real life things happening in this, and Hallie and dealing with some family things going on, and Rio just being like, oh my goodness, I wasn't here for you through all of this. Their romance was so good, and like having to be the forced proximity of it all, the tension. She's trying to build this home, and it's very sweet because he's like, well, what do you like? Okay, do that. If you like it, I like it, do it. It was fantastic. It was wrapped up in such a good, pretty bow. I loved the ending. I loved seeing everybody at the end. Fantastic time. Probably like a 4.5 stars out of 5. But shame on the adults in this situation. Let me see if I wrote anything else. Oh yeah, I said I just don't know if I can give it a 5 stars because I'm sorry, if Rio's mom has 0 haters, I'm dead. Oh my goodness. Okay, that might have been like a little bit dramatic. But anyway, I'm glad to know Ria, quote, take it off to Luca. I'm happy to know him. And then lastly, to end off May, I stayed with the sports romance because it was really hitting for me. It was really working, and I read Please Don't Go by E. Salvador. This is the first book in the Midnight Strike series, so I'm assuming this is going to be an interconnected standalone romance series. And there's the male main character in this book, his best friend and his sister. You kind of see this like bantery enemy beef situation happening between the two of them. and I need their book. So respectfully, Salvador, I need that book. Please don't give me somebody else's next. I'll literally get on my knees and beg because I need their book next. I think it's gonna be a 10 out of 10, 5 stars. I think it's gonna be so good. But in this book we're following, this is Josephine and Daniel. And if you definitely read trigger warnings for it. Trigger warnings for this book. The circumstances in which they meet are not great. Not great. They both are going through grief, but in very different circumstances and in very different ways. This is definitely a good representation of how long grief can last for somebody, how it can affect them, how the brightest person in the room is sometimes struggling the most or dealing with silent battles, but also the quietest person or the person that you think is like maybe a little mean or like you think is grumpy or whatever. They might be that way for a reason. They're going through a lot, but these two are both grieving. They kind of come together and find each other because of this one specific instance, and because of that there's this theme of him saying like, hey Josephine, I'm just so happy you're here. I'm so happy you're here. He wants to be her friend, and they're kind of trying to support each other in ways that nobody has ever supported them before. It is a sports romance. He plays baseball. She is a swimmer, but she's not currently swimming. She just gives lessons right now because of her mom passing away. She's trying to kind of figure out who she is without her mom. It was so good. It was such a good read. I gave it a solid 4 stars because the first 50% of the book, fantastic. 5 stars. I thought it was going to be a 5-star read. Then there is this, and don't get me wrong, not that I don't love a spicy book, but there is this whole like the next 10% of the book is just spice back to back to back to back to back. And you kind of had this huge buildup of like this will they, won't they, like will they cross the line of friendship? And there's this whole thing with like sticky notes, and they like do this one thing. They're like, just let's get it out of our system. And he's like, did that work for you? Because it didn't work for me. Okay. And also he speaks multiple languages. And a new favorite microtrope acquired is when a man speaks to her in a language, but she doesn't know what he's saying, but he's saying something so good. Loved that. But there's this whole like build up spice, third act type of situation, and then like no more spice. There's just like this 10% where it's just like so much back to back to back to back. I didn't love that. And then towards the end, I wish I could find it, but there was certain like catchphrases, like corny catchphrases about like being there for people, or like I'll be a flashlight for you, or things like that got repeated, but from multiple different characters. Like it wasn't just a catchphrase for one character, it was repeated by, she said it, and then maybe like the guy's best friend said it. I was trying to go back and find it, but I was like, oh my god, this could take me so long. The second half of the book, or maybe like even the last 40%, was a 3-star. So I landed on a 4-star. Definitely would recommend, definitely read your trigger warnings for it, but it was a really good read. And I have a new romance author that I'm going to delve into her entire backlist, and I'm telling you, I can't wait to read more from the Midnight Strike series. That was everything. That's all the books, the 12 books that I read from April and June. What month is it now? Oh, April and May. It's currently June. Haven't read a book. Haven't read a book. I'm having a hard time. Hey, so guess what? I definitely missed one of the books. Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. Let's talk about that. I read another one of her books. I don't have it. Read it on Kindle and listened to it on audiobook. But Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. This, we are following a couple who is going through a tough time. They've won this trip to this, what they didn't realize was going to be a deserted church, old church, cabiny situation. There's a snowstorm. They get stuck there. There's crazy things happening. We're getting this other perspective of letters from the wife, and there's this common theme of like doing rock, paper, scissors between them, and it was a lot of fun. Probably solid 3.5 stars. There was a twist. There's a twist from like different perspectives, and like who was that perspective actually from, and it kept me on my toes. Definitely threw me off guard. I think this would be really fun to read, definitely in the winter time, like if you're a mood reader, seasonal reader. I think this was a multiple perspective done better because the perspectives were questionable. If you're looking for a thriller, out of the thrillers that I've read, probably that would be the highest recommended in terms of the ones that I read in April and May. Okay, that was actually the last book I read. Let me know if you're going to read any now. Let me know if I have any of your favorites in this stack. Thank you so much for watching, and happy reading.